Mr. Vice President, the next person that we have, another one of our bold frontline workers is Mr. Jerry Brown, who is a paratransit driver. Jerry is from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and he's a member and chief shop steward of ATU Local 836. Jerry has been a paratransit driver for 20 years and has 4 children. Jerry, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Vice President Biden. I'd like to first thank you for your presence here today and for doing all that you do. As stated, I am a paratransit driver, bus driver here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been bus driver for 20 years. I am a father of 4, married, 4 children, and the people that I transport are people that I've grown up with, people that I've known most of my life. And the same goes for a lot of my coworkers. So we understand the importance of what we do and that we are essential. So we would like to do our part. We're here to do our part, but we want to be as safe as possible in doing so. Of course, we don't want to get infected with COVID-19, but the biggest fear is that we will infect one of our loved ones.
Exactly.
And also our passengers, because these are people that we have known for years. Even if we didn't know them before we started driving, we've gotten to know them over the years. And so we wouldn't want to be responsible for infecting one of our passengers either. The part of the service that I'm a part of, the paratransit side, we transport disabled and senior citizens here in our community. Most of them have underlying conditions, and that makes them a big risk of potentially passing from this COVID-19. So that's a concern for us. It's a concern for fixed route drivers as well, because the same applies for them. A lot of them have grown up here in the Grand Rapids area, and they're transporting the passengers that have to get to the doctor's office,
Yeah.
to the grocery store, and they're even transporting some of the other essential workers that have to get where they need to be so that they can do their job as well. We not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, lost one of our brothers here in the Detroit area, which is only a couple of hours away from where we live. That's a sad thing, and it's a scary thing because it really hits home. Here in Michigan, we are one of the states that's been hit hardest by this virus. So we understand that it's real here. So my question to you is, getting the access to the PPE in the transit industry has been an issue for quite a while now, since the beginning of this thing. What would you do as president to make sure that us critical workers have the protections that we need?
Well, Chair, I'm sorry about the loss of a fellow driver. But look, let me start off by saying that, as you probably know, because you guys have supported me my whole career, back in the old days when I was trying to work my way through law school, I drove a bus. I drove a school bus. And all I can imagine, I think about it now, imagine if schools were still open and I was back there going through the same thing and had a school bus. Kids getting on the bus, sitting next to each other, walking by me, reaching out, people, in your case, and lots of times you're going back and helping people. You're helping people get on the bus sometimes, and you know them and you see them and you understand the fear and concerns they have. And so my prayers are with you and all your coworkers, your families and friends, and then, Jason Hardgrove, you referred to, is a heartbreaking example of the courage and selflessness that you and your colleagues show every single day to literally keep the country running. Because one of the things you said, that, the very people I just talked to, and we'll talk to in the rest of this roundtable, they got to get to work. They don't always have a vehicle to get to work. And particularly people who are in circumstances and communities where they come from jobs that don't pay a whole lot. Access to automobiles to get to their place of work is also hard to get. So, but Jason should have never been left to fend for himself and his own to sacrifice his life for his job. It's a failure of leadership from the president. See, look, cities and states across the country have been trying to scrape together all they could find to protect frontline workers. But they need federal support to do that. This is a human crisis above all, but it's also a failure of supply, logistics, and distribution. One of our most sacred duties as a nation is to equip our troops when we send them into battle, care for them when they come home, and equip them. We're in a war. The president says he's a commander-in-chief. He's in a war. Well, my Lord, take care of the frontline workers. They're our generals. They're our colonels. They're our privates. They're our forces. We're relying on all of you to get people to your jobs at hospitals, pharmacies, grocery stores, to transport people with disabilities and to make sure that our older Americans still have the ability to get food, medicine, care they need. Look, as a frontline troops, you need life-saving equipment. Our commander-in-chief has a duty to get them to you. I've urged this president to use his full authority. There's a thing, as you know, Jerry, called the Defense Production Act. You've probably heard a lot about it. Not only that means the president in a time of crisis can invoke that act and get companies and outfits to do things that he can force them to do, like General Motors is now doing to provide respirators, or making sure that they can produce the gloves and the masks and the shields, et cetera, that are needed for protection of official protective gear, and getting tests available and made and done, but also to ensure that they're distributed swiftly and in full to the places that need it most. That means you. That means Michigan. Michigan's one of those hot spots. The president says he has a rear admiral working on this, but he hadn't been put clearly in charge, and it hasn't taken over the supply chain to determine and demand critical materials across the states. That's what has to happen nationally. President says he takes no responsibility. He's president of the United States of America. Coordinating this effort is the president's responsibility. That approach that he's taking now isn't working. Cities, states, and transit systems shouldn't have to bid against each other for protective gear, masks, gloves, etc. Price gouging shouldn't be what we're having to face now. And I've urged the president to appoint a supply commander, a senior official with broad authority and deep logistical expertise. We have a lot in the military have this expertise to set up and actually take command of our national supply chain for this critical equipment, working with governors to get all frontline workers and life-saving people the protection they need. And we can do that. And the need for this PPE, as is referred to these days, protective gear, isn't going away anytime soon. We're only going to need more masks, gloves, protective gear as we move to reopen the economy in a safe way and more people go back to work. Masks will be part of the new normal for a while. We need to keep boosting our supply. And look, let me say one other thing. I strongly believe, Jer, that people getting on your bus should also have protective masks. They should be in a position so they're not spreading whatever they have to you as well and to other passengers. Same way with grocery clerks, same way with meatpacking facilities, no matter what it is. And people going in to purchase either a ticket on a bus or an orange at a fruit counter in a grocery store, they should be walking in with masks on as well. But the president, when he says he doesn't think he'd wear one in public, is a bizarre thing to say. I have one. I wear it every time I step outside this house with the Secret Service. My point is this. There's so much more we can do. It's within our power to do it, but the president has to act, 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 act. Time is of the essence, and you deserve to be protected. I remember, Jerry, about 2 years ago, I was working with you guys, making sure you're protected from violence on your buses. Just someone getting on the bus and going after you. And the idea that that wasn't even done. I mean, my Lord, we need much more support for transit workers because you are the reason why things continue to function, period. And I promise you, I'm going to keep banging away at this, keep hollering every single day about it. And if I'm president, I guarantee you that will be available. We shouldn't have to wait that long now. It should be tomorrow.